Hello, Choose Life Church. How are you this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whatever time you're watching this? Hope you're doing well. Anyone else who's joining us, we're just glad that you're here with us. Excited as we've been on this journey through the book of Matthew for nearly an entire month. Today we're on day 26, so we're in chapter 26. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have and gotten as much insight into who Jesus is and given some thought to who he is as we've gone through this book during the course of this journey. So today is a little tough day, really, as it pertains to reading about Jesus. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Passion of Christ. I have seen it. It was a rough movie to watch. I didn't enjoy the movie, but I found it very valuable and insightful and gave me a real feeling, a real sense of what Jesus went through in those final days. So today it kind of feels that way for me. Today in Matthew 26, this is the final days of Jesus. These are his final days on earth. I like to refer to this as Jesus knew he had a higher calling. So while on earth, he had to endure many things beyond what we can imagine. But the worst was yet to come. As he's preparing, he already knows that the time is near. And he is having a meal at Simon's house, who is a leper. Now, all by itself, that would just irritate the religious leaders to no end, the fact that he would have a meal with a leper in his home. And as he's there, a young lady comes up and anoints him with an expensive perfume. Now this causes the disciples to be very indignant, thinking, oh, she could have done something much better with that perfume. But Jesus said, I will not be with you for long, and what she does is more important than what she could have done with the money she could have sold the perfume for. Judas is in the process of going to the religious leaders and betraying Jesus, telling them where he's going to be and how he will make it easy for them to come and arrest him. He'll point Jesus out to them when they find him. So Jesus and the disciples are also in the midst of the Last Supper as we're reading through this book and this chapter. And at the Last Supper, it's very difficult because he is telling them clearly what's coming. And they don't really want to hear it. And he also says that one of you has betrayed me. This brought a lot of tension to that meal, as you can imagine. But Peter, in his bold way he always seemed to have, he said, well, Jesus, first of all, I just don't think that's going to happen. But even if it did happen, there's no way that I would deny you, because Jesus is telling them, you will deny me. And he's saying, no, I won't. I won't do it. I won't deny you. And Jesus tells him clearly, yes, you will. Before the rooster crows 3 times, you will deny me. After the Last Supper, Jesus goes to the olive grove at Gethsemane. It's getting evening. And he's just spending time in prayer. He is calling out to the Father and saying, God, if there's any other way, can you take this cup from me? He's asking, is there another way? Is there a way I don't have to go through all of this pain and anguish and suffering? But then his very next comment is, but not my will, but yours be done. Jesus knew there was a higher calling. It wasn't about his desire. It wasn't about his will. It was about God's will, because God has a plan. And in the midst of that plan, sometime it's going to be uncomfortable. Not only for Jesus, but for us as well. Not long after being in the olive grove and praying and just imploring God, asking if there's any other way, but at the same time understanding that I will accomplish this mission you've given to me. He's arrested after he's betrayed by Judas. He's questioned by the high priest and treated terribly in the midst of that. And during that time, Peter indeed does deny that he knows Jesus as he's waiting outside, and someone points him out and says, "Aren't you one of those who's traveling with Jesus?" And he says no, because he was afraid of what Jesus was going through, and he didn't want to have to be a part of that. He didn't want to have to live through that pain and that suffering. I don't think any of us want to tell you the truth. I don't know if any of us can, certainly with the grace that Christ did. Jesus had to suffer, the ultimate rejection. His closest disciples, his closest friends in the world, were still in the midst of rejecting him as he is suffering in the high priest's room and being tortured and just treated terribly. But Jesus was willing at all costs to fulfill the will of the Father. He should be an example to us. And I know that at that time, the religious leaders, the high priests, they all thought this was the end. Pretty soon this is going to be over. And they thought this was the final scene. And today we're not talking about that final scene that they thought, because it's coming in another chapter. But the truth is, even after all that, the final scene isn't played out. The final scene is yet to come. The final scene is when Jesus comes back to earth to get the chosen ones and take them with him to heaven for all eternity. Jesus had a higher calling. And I hope you and I can begin to think less about this world and less about our needs and our desires and more about God's, that we might have a calling, a higher calling, similar to his. Thanks so much for being with us this month. This is the last time you'll see me. This is my last chapter. I had a great time. I hope you did as well. I hope you learned as much as I did, and I hope that something inside of you has changed for the better, for the kingdom, having gone through this book in the way we've done it. Thanks so much. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye.